Hello, and in this video I'll be getting through the tests that I performed in order to identify my unknown. So the characterization tests that I performed include the preliminary test, the solubility test, the pH test, the sodium bicarbonate test, the Buchstein test for halide, an ignition test for aromaticity, and the Bayer test for unsaturation with potassium permanganate. So with my preliminary tests, I found that I had a melting point between 135 degrees Celsius to 137 degrees Celsius, and upon looking at my solid, I had a white crystalline powder. It did not have any particular smell. After that, I performed my solubility test, where I found that my solid was extremely soluble in water. So this narrows it down to three possibilities, which include a low molecular weight amine, carboxylic acid, or a neutral compound. After that, I performed the pH test by testing my aqueous solution with the unknown on litmus paper, and it actually turned to a pH of around 1 or 2, so very red on the scale. So this indicates that it is a low molecular weight carboxylic acid. To further confirm that it is a carboxylic acid, I also did the test on a sodium bicarbonate, and on the reaction, I found bubbles immediately, and it resembled fizzing soda. After that, I performed the Buchstein test for halide. Now, my solid burned off, but it did not produce any green or bright green flames, so I tested negative for a halide. So this narrows it down to two possibilities between ferulic acid and maleic acid. I include the chemical formulas below and also the literature melting points according to Pavia. So after that, I performed the ignition test for aromaticity. I tested this on both my unknown and also a benzoic acid sample, which is a known aromatic compound for control. My unknown produced a flame, but no soot was observed. However, in the case of benzoic acid, I produced a bright yellow flame and black soot was observed. So from this, it was concluded that because I had no soot, this test was negative for aromaticity. So this rules out ferulic acid, which has an aromatic furan ring right here. After that, I performed the Bayer test with potassium permanganate, and this tests for an unsaturated double bond or triple bond, but not for an aromatic ring. So my unknown produced a brown precipitate after adding a few drops of it in, and so this is a positive result which confirms that there is a double bond. So from these tests, I was able to learn that my unknown had to be something of low molecular weight, and my unknown also had to be something that had less than 6 carbons. It did not contain any alkyl halides and is an aliphatic compound, so it does not contain an aromatic ring. And additionally, it also has an unsaturated double bond. After that, I took my spectroscopy, or IR spectra, and I found that there was a large OH curve at around 3200, as you can see here. And this confirms the presence of an acidic carboxyl group. And this is a signature trait for all carboxylic acids. Unfortunately, my solid did not dissolve in carbon tetrachloride, so I had to use a KBr plate. So in order to try to get a better picture of what my solid consisted of, I did a second IR spectra, but this time I dissolved it in acetone. And at around 1704, I found that I had a peak for a carbonyl C-double-O bond. And also at around 1628, I also had a C double bond, which confirms the unsaturated double bond that I found from my Bayer test. And this is comparing my IR spectra with acetone to the reference IR. And as you can see on this other half right here, my IR lines up very neatly with the reference here. So yeah, I narrowed down to one choice, which is maleic acid. I drew out the chemical structure here, and from our spectroscopy, I can confirm that there is a carbonyl bond here, a C-double-C unsaturated bond here, and also a carboxyl group right here. So yeah, IR spectra confirms the presence of these groups in addition to my characterization tests. Unfortunately, due to the HNMR machine not working, I cannot acquire spectra. However, from the tests alone, I can confirm that my unknown is maleic acid.